Every day, there are people all over the world looking to create better lives for themselves and their families. These are moms or retirees or college students, everyday people. They are Amazon sellers, and these are their stories. Hey guys, in this week's episode of Jungle Scout Stories, I'm really excited to have on Carter Maxwell. Carter, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Just living the dream. Living the dream.
Awesome. Before we get started, do you want to give the audience a quick introduction and tell them a little bit more about who you are?
Awesome. So, guys, my name's Carter Maxwell, just a 17-year-old entrepreneur. Been in the entrepreneur game since about 13 years old. And as of now, I'm a full-time private label seller on Amazon, putting up some pretty good numbers, anywhere from $22,000 to $25,000 a month over the past few months. And it's only growing, especially getting into Q4. And I love business. I have a YouTube channel as well. And I just enjoy teaching people how to make money and just showing people the ropes. So it's just a little bit of a backstory introduction about me.
You're 17 years old. How long have you been selling on Amazon?
I'd say about age 15, I think I started selling books and CDs and video games, just kind of some of those one-off random items, I'd say.
That's amazing, man. Most people at 15 years old, I don't know what they're doing, but they're not thinking about starting businesses or selling on Amazon. What made you want to do that as opposed to just chasing girls and playing sports and whatever else 15-year-old guys are doing?
A lot of people like to save money, and that was kind of the main reason for me. I wanted to experience some of those activities that not every kid was able to. I wanted some of the different luxuries, if it be shoes and shirts and stuff along those lines. And I was like, I don't really want to get a job. And I'm like the kind of person who doesn't want to go and work for $8 an hour. And I was just like, let me try something else. And I think one of the big, really pros about me is I like to take action. And even at the age of 13, 14, I was like, I'm going to try eBay. And I jumped into it and I had success. Then at age 15, I was like, I'm going to try Amazon. I jumped into it. I took action. I invested my time and money into the business and it was successful. And that's one of the big things I think people really miss out on is just taking action. Just don't worry about if you're going to fail or you think you're going to fail. Just invest your time and money into the business and you will be successful.
Right on, and great advice. So what types of sales models are you using right now? Are you doing private label or arbitrage, or tell me a little bit more about your Amazon business?
So when I first started Amazon, it was kind of half private label and half just kind of the random items. So I usually focused on books, video games, and toys kind of around the Q4 last 3 months of the year. Also while managing private label. And a little bit of a backstory was my first 3 products ended up failing when I first started private labeling. So my first product just got off the ground, and I can actually share these products with you because I no longer sell them. The first one were these iPhone cases. Now, when you look at the numbers, like if you were to use the Jungle Scout Chrome extension or just you look at the numbers in general in the sales rank, iPhone cases sell, but it's such a competitive niche and a market to get into that I was just a rookie, and I was like, numbers look good, hopped into it, and didn't make very many sales. And then the next product were actually these icing nozzles. Was going to sell them in a 30 pack. Didn't do the proper research. Turned out the market was a little bit too competitive. And I actually think the product might have been patented. So it's kind of good that I actually got out of that product as well.
And then your products now, you said they're half private label and...
It's all private label. I don't do books or CDs or video games anymore. And at the moment, I have 4 really good private label products, with a 5th kind of I'm trying to build up the rank.
Nice. Right on, man. Congratulations. So I have to ask, a lot of people, the reason they can't really get started is because they don't have the capital. They don't have the cash to place that first order. What did you use any methods like borrowing money, or was this saved up from selling books and CDs, or do you have any tips for people who that's the reason they can't get started is because of the cash restraints?
Yeah, and that's a big reason that I see people not being able to start is just the cash flow. And I had the same problem as well when I first started, because private label, depending on the price of the product, how many units you're wanting to order for your first order, it's going to be around $700 to probably $1,000 for your first order. And I didn't have that money at the time. And so I recommend either starting out on eBay, clothing, video games, electronics. And the same thing goes for Amazon. And Amazon, it's a lot more convenient when you go through the FBA program, because obviously Amazon is going to fulfill the shipments. So while I'm sitting at school, if I sell 10 items, 20 items, Amazon is shipping them all for me. So I highly recommend either picking up eBay or Amazon. I would prefer Amazon. And just go after the books and CDs. I've already taught, I think, 3 of my friends that already are doing over $2,000 a month at just selling books alone. So you can do it at any age. It does not matter. It just takes time and to just dedicate to learning the process.
How many hours would you say you spend per week on your Amazon business, and when do you find time to do so?
I would say I put the majority of my time in during the summer. Now that school's in session and for the varsity basketball season with 2 games a week and practices early, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, I only work on my business anywhere from like 30 to 45 minutes Amazon wise. So that's just kind of managing my products, making sure I have reviews, answering any customer questions. And other than that, I just do homework and hang out with friends. So
This is a very cool and inspiring story. However, as an entrepreneur, I know that it's not always just up and to the right and not always like successes. Tell me about some of the failures that you've had.
just along the way, it's just been a crazy journey. Lots of ups and downs and successes and failures. But there's usually a few failures that just really kind of stand out. The first one was just when I first got into private label, was not going through the whole process. I didn't have like a course to look off of. I didn't have a mentor to kind of guide me through the process. And so I just kind of, with my instincts of like, I'm going to take action. And like when it comes to private labeling, like the most important part is your product research. And just like Jungle Scout, they have the web app, the Chrome extension that you can use to add products, research and stuff like that. I didn't want to use that. I didn't want to invest that monthly payment, that one-time payment. And it really hurt me in the long term. And I would just go on Amazon and try to find, just scroll through products and try to find a product that I think would be successful. And that definitely was not the right strategy. So, but when I got into fidget spinners, it was my first time to really get into a product that was like trendy, and I ended up riding the wave pretty well. And as the wave kind of died, I placed too big of an order and lost a little bit of money. So just kind of not really having a game plan when it comes to like a trendy product. So those are probably my 2 biggest failures in my private label career.
Would you still launch a kind of just like a very like faddish or trendy type product like the fidget spinners and just cash in while it lasts? Or do you now go for products that are more like probably long-term plays?
I would prefer long-term products, but maybe once or twice a year, I'll go after that kind of trendy product and write it out. The reason being is I experienced selling fidget spinners, which is probably one of the most trendiest products like ever on the Amazon platform, other than maybe hoverboards. And so I kind of realized that I need a better game plan when it comes to actually riding the wave. And then when the trend starts to die off, make sure you get out and you don't lose any money, have any excess inventory. So if I did have the option or the chance to hop into another trendy product, I would for sure do that.
How did you learn everything that you do know about selling on Amazon? Did you take some courses or use some advisors or mentors, or how did you learn all of it?
Unfortunately, I just learned it all on my own. I learned the basics of what exactly the private label strategy was just from different YouTube videos. At the time of me starting, it was just kind of getting popular. There were only a few different people talking about it. There weren't really any courses out there. I didn't have a mentor to teach me, and I just knew the basics. You got to have product research. You have to find a product. You have to brand that product. I think you have to try to sell it back on Amazon. I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump into it. And throughout my first 2-3 products, I basically had figured out the process, realized what it was going to take in order to build a successful product, and follow those exact steps and guidelines.
All right. So what are your plans for your products and your business for the next, say, 1 year?
So I've been doing a lot of brainstorming and kind of some different game plans of what exactly I want for the year of 2018. And I would like to have the strategy to launch a minimum of 2 products per month. So kind of build that up over time and just keep trying to put out as many products. Instead of trying to look for the products that are going to try to make you $10,000 profit a month, I'm going to look for those products that are guaranteed to make me that $2,000 to $3,000 per month. And I'm going to try to add as many of those as I can. And when it comes to new sellers, I see lots of new sellers, and including what I used to do in the beginning is I would look for that product that was just going to be like a home run. I was like, man, I can do $20,000, $30,000 a month doing this product. And what would happen is tons and tons of different competitors would come into that product. Everyone will be doing Jungle Scout and find that product. And so for me to go after kind of those lower competition, maybe higher margin items, I had a lot greater success. So that's kind of my game plan for 2018. So like I said, I'd like to launch a minimum of 2 products per month, every month for the year of 2018. And I'd also like to learn how to run some different lightning deals to kind of spike some sales every once in a while. So that's kind of the game plan.
What do you look for in those products that you think kind of like guarantee you like 2 or 3K a month? What like as a certain amount of demand or competition, or you like certain categories, or what? Give us a little insight of your thoughts on that.
Not so much categories. I like to follow my criteria. So I like to stay in the price range of around $15 to $50. Kind of that $15 price point is like my minimum. I don't really want to go below that because just after fees and Amazon fulfillment, you're just not going to make enough for it to be really worth your time. And after that $15 to $50 price point, I like to follow kind of my 10 by 10 by 1 strategy. So I like to make kind of 10 sales a day at $10 in profit for one day. So my goal per product is to make around $100 profit a day. Now, if that product's making me $5 profit a day, I want to try to sell 20 units. If it's making me $10 profit a day, I want to try to make 10 units. So my goal is to try to find products that will consistently make me $100 in profit per day.
Has the cash kind of like in your business been enough to be able to like fund like new inventory purchases and launching 2 products per month? Or have you had to look, get cash other places? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
Definitely, because I'm not really the type of person who likes to go and just splurge cash on different like new shoes and new clothing and stuff like that. I just like to reinvest it back in the business. And I mean, over time, as you keep gaining gaining new profits and keep reinvesting it back in the business, eventually build up some nice cash flow to where launching 1 or 2 products a month isn't really too much of a hassle. And I usually, when I launch a product, I kind of like to think of it as a test order, not so much like a gigantic order. Like if I was to be restocking one of my best sellers, just be kind of a test order. I like to stick around 1,000 to 1,500 for that first order in case maybe the product doesn't sell as well as I thought, or just something goes wrong. I won't lose out too much on it.
What's your launch strategy look like for your products?
So after I do the product research and have the product in, I do like to do a giveaway depending on how many units I ordered within that first order. I'll usually run a giveaway for 5 days and give out X amount of units per day. So if my competitors are selling around 20 to 25 items a day, I kind of want to match that. So if I order like 300 or 400 units, maybe I'll do a giveaway of around 15, 20 units for 5 days straight, hopefully to kind of build up some momentum as well as rank. And then definitely Amazon PPC, which is their advertising platform, is immensely huge, especially when it comes to ranking for those really competitive search terms. Also some of your long keywords as well. And I usually lose money up front in that first month, just kind of bidding a lot on those really competitive keywords so I can try to rank organically to where I'll be able to get like organic free sales for those products. So that's kind of my launch strategy when it comes to actually first having that product check into Amazon and then building it up over time.
Do you ever have any products that don't sell well or not as well as you were hoping for, even if it's just for a period of time? And if so, what do you do to kind of like revive them or get them to start selling better?
Usually it doesn't happen because whenever I do my research in the beginning prior to the launch, usually I'll find products that will consistently sell, but sometimes they don't sell as often or as well as I would like them to. So it could come into maybe doing another giveaway, maybe a larger giveaway, maybe putting more into your campaigns to attract more people to your listing, create additional sales, rank more for those keywords, just kind of those things that you really want to think about if your product's not selling. Maybe you want to get some more reviews or just do a giveaway like I'd said, or just optimize your listing. Maybe you need better pictures, maybe you need to bundle an item, just somehow you can differentiate from your competition to where you'll be able to outsell your competitors.
What do your friends and family think about you as a 17-year-old, an entrepreneur? I can tell you're very passionate about it, and I'm sure you spend a lot of time doing it. Tell me a little bit about their thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of passion for my business, and I do like to help out as many people as I can. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have friends and family that support me in my business, especially my family. I mean, when I first started, I wasn't able to drive to garage sales and I was sourcing for books and CDs. I wasn't able to go and open a bank account because I'm not old enough. I had to go have my parents drive me around. They had to help me, aid me in certain things, and to have their support is really big. And when it comes to school and friends, they don't really understand like the opportunity that it is. They're still just kind of living that teenager life. They're still just playing on their phones, watching TV shows, hanging out with friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're just not really looking into their future or taking advantage of the opportunity. And I have tons of kids that ask me how can they make money, but they're not willing to take action, not willing to invest money. And I've only had one kid that's actually enrolled in my course. I'm actually teaching him how to build his own private label business at the moment. So when it comes to friends, they think it's cool, like, oh, you're making money and everything, but they don't really understand like the situation and how if they wanted to, they could literally come over to my house and I could teach them how to build a successful private label business. But it's a pretty crazy journey.
Nice, right on. What are your plans after high school?
I mean, you don't know how many times I get that question. I mean, you're going to go to Harvard. Are you going to do this? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Harvard? And obviously, I have not made that decision yet. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I mean, there's different opinions. There's opinions like, yes, you should go to college, you can get a great education. And then you have those people where, oh, you don't need college. Look at Bill Gates, look at all those other guys, Steve Jobs, that dropped out of college and created all these successful businesses. And for right now, I probably will be attending college unless if some business venture, some business idea was to take out that I would be able to maybe take a year or two off of college or postpone it for a little bit in order to kind of pursue my business, and that would be an option as well. So I have the remaining year of my 11th grade and 12th grade to kind of figure out what exactly I want to do.
What are some tips and advice that you give people listening to this, especially, maybe they're a similar age as you and, you've really inspired them? What would be the next steps for them if they wanted to follow in your footsteps?
Just to build a game plan, decide what you want. If you want to quit your job as a waiter, or it all depends on your age and how much free time you have. If you have a full-time job, you can build your own private label business on the side if you want to do it part-time. And I've known a lot of people that have worked full-time jobs and built up their private label business where they have the luxury to be able to quit their full-time job and pursue their private label business full-time. And if you're first starting out, or if you're learning and you want to build an Amazon business, a private label business, I just recommend that you take action and you do your research, and you just take action. You just go into the business and you learn and you just grow it over time. I mean, you're not going to become successful or a millionaire overnight. It's going to take weeks, it's going to take months, but you're going to be glad that you took action that day, that week, because it's going to definitely help you down the road.
Do you source your products from China?
I do, yes, sir. All from Alibaba.
Tell me a little bit more about your experience working with the factories and kind of what you've learned from that, and any tips that you could share with us.
So when it comes to actually sourcing, don't always choose the supplier that has the lowest price. I know you always want to make as much profit as you can, but especially when you're making a test order, I mean, don't worry too much about pricing depending on how much money you want to make on your first order, because if that product is successful and you're going to go back and place a second order, a much larger order, those suppliers' prices are all going to be the same. And usually, if you have a supplier that's offering you a lower price, there's a pretty good chance that most likely it's going to be somewhat of a low quality item. And I kind of ran into that with fidget spinners. Not so much that the prices were low. They all kind of had the same prices, but the fidget spinners being a trendy product, certain smaller orders like the factories weren't accepting. The quality was very, very poor. They were just mass producing these fidget spinners like crazy. But some of my items that I sell year round, I haven't had really any bad experiences with my suppliers or anything. Because I mean, they're there to obviously have you purchase their products. They're going to want to provide you with the best service and product that they can. Give us
some tips for communicating with the suppliers. I know that can be like challenging for some people. Are there any lessons you've learned from that?
Not so much. I mean, they do have somewhat of some broken English. Like they're going to call you dear, they're going to call you sir, and there's nothing really wrong with that. I'm still able to communicate with them with English and everything and type it out. And you don't really have to go too much in depth. Although when they do give you some different surprises, you just have to basically adjust to it. That's all I can say. Just adjust. It's not too big of like an adjusting or to adapting to. It's just you have to understand what they're going through and kind of how they communicate within China and how they communicate with other United States people as well.
What like messaging and platform or email platform do you use to communicate with them?
I just use my regular email. Obviously, I don't want to put too much information to where they can find out who exactly I am. But you can usually contact them through Alibaba, and depending on the kind of supplier they are, sometimes they'll actually skip the Alibaba message platform. They'll just email you directly, and some will just message you on Alibaba. So you kind of have to go through kind of your Gmail or your Hotmail, wherever you do your regular emails, and then through the Alibaba message system as well.
Do you still remember when you got like that first sale?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was the first product. It took a little while because I didn't have the very good strategy launching that product. It was actually the iPhone cases, and it was super, super competitive. But when I first got that sale, it was just a huge thing of relief and everything. I was like, man, first sale, many more to come.
And you felt optimistic then moving on, or you were worried that, hey, I just spent all this money, I don't know if things are going to sell, or what?
I mean, I was a little bit worried. Obviously, I'd made that really big upfront investment, and the product wasn't as selling with the quantity that I thought it would be selling. So it was a little bit stressful, but I was like, you know what? This is my first product. I'm just kind of learning the process. If it's not successful, I want to try to at least make my money back, or if I can't make my money back, just try to liquidate it, and the next product will be successful, and the next one, or something like that. Just trying to build my confidence up in case if like that first product is not the best, you know.
I can tell you have a very upbeat and optimistic outlook about everything, which is I think is important for an entrepreneur to have because there's a lot of kind of like hardship along the way as well. Surely there's been a few times though you've been like worried or like lost a little bit of sleep over it, or like what scares you or keeps you up at night?
Mainly that I don't like own like the platform. You know, like on Shopify, if you were to create your own store, you're able to manage customer returns. You're able to manage your store. At any time, Amazon can take advantage of you. Obviously, they wouldn't want to do that, but I'm trying to think of like a circumstance where Amazon like has control over you. So maybe like someone is like hijackers. For instance, when it comes to private labeling, like the biggest thing is hijackers, and it happens all the time. You have a good product, it's selling, and then all of a sudden, this other seller is getting on your listings. They have very few seller feedback, and they're selling the product at like half of your price. And you're like, who the heck is this? Well, it's mainly just these Chinese hijackers that will sell like a generic product, like the same exact product you're selling, except it's not branded with your brand, just a generic product, and they're selling it on your listing that you created, the listing that you took pictures for, you optimized. And so that's one of the most frustrating things is just when those hijackers come off, then you have to send them a cease and desist letter to hopefully run them off. So that's definitely
has that happened to you before?
It has, yes.
Tell us how you handled it or what steps you took.
You just have to have your cease and desist letter ready. I mean, that gets rid of like 95% of them, a very large portion, just to send them like, hey, this is my branded product. Like, I don't want to take any legal action on you or anything along those lines. If you can just remove of your product from my listing, go to someone else's listing, stop. Like, this is my business. I put time into it. This is not your product. Just things along those lines. Try to scare them off.
Did you like hire a lawyer to get you or to send a cease and desist letter, or you downloaded one off the internet, or what?
Just like I teach in my course, I actually have a template that you can just like enter your product name, the ASIN, and it kind of has a template set up for you to where you can just put it in a Google Doc, change it wherever, what different product, edit in the seller name, copy and paste it, and just email it to that supplier. And usually within, I'd say, within that day, they will remove their offer from your listing.
What do you think are some like the common pitfalls that people could likely fall into if they're looking to get started in private labeling?
Let's see. I would think it's more of getting into a product that's too competitive. So when it comes to doing product research in Jungle Scout, if you're finding 5-6 of those listings that fit your criteria, there's most likely other sellers that are finding that same product as well. And what you want to do is you want to make sure it's not going to be the next fidget spinner. It's not going to be the next letterboard. For instance, the letterboards, I was actually thinking about getting into that product, but I just saw all the different success and like, man, people are going to come onto this product. It's become saturated. So that's definitely one of the things that people kind of have. It's like a pitfall when people first start their private label business. And another pitfall, I'm trying to think of one, but it's not optimizing their listing. So if people do, no matter like how good the product is, how good how good the product looks, if you don't have an optimized listing, if you don't have like an optimized title, bullet points, a description, professional pictures, you're not going to be able to convert those potential buyers into actually purchasing your products. That's definitely optimizing your listing is extremely important as well.
Do you do your own photos or you hire someone to do so?
I hire someone. You can actually just find them on Fiverr. And what I usually teach other people is there's people that can do your whole product listing. So for a certain package, they can make your title, they can do your bullet points in like an HTML description. And then I usually go to 2 or 3 different photographers that I'll just mail my product to them. And within a week or 2 weeks, they'll be able to send me the final images for that product. And then I'll kind of go through and see which images I like the best and implement them in my listing.
How have, in your, 2 years of experience or so on Amazon, how have you seen the marketplace kind of like evolve or change? Do you think it's getting more competitive? Does it seem tougher to find products? Have you noticed any other trends?
It's becoming a little bit more popular and more people are jumping into Amazon, but at the rate that people are jumping in and selling on Amazon, the customer base is just absolutely exploding just because more and more people are entering their credit card information, more people are buying on Amazon. And as you can see, the different Cyber Monday deals, Black Friday deals, Amazon did like, don't quote me on this, but they did like 50% of like the online retail sales like worldwide. So I mean, if you're not selling on Amazon, you're definitely missing out on a lot of sales.
Do you currently sell on any other platforms, or do you have plans to do so in the future?
I do have some plans. I do sell on Teachable. I've sold on eBay since the age of 13. I've dabbled in the Shopify. I didn't do drop shipping. I was trying to sell physical products. Didn't have the greatest success on that. And I also sold on Merch by Amazon. Had some really great success with that. But I just found that if I put my time and effort into my Amazon private label business, it's going to make me a lot more money. So that's kind of where I focus my efforts.
Tell us a little bit more about your experience on Merch by Amazon.
So I've mixed emotions when it comes to selling on Merch by Amazon. I can just kind of tell you a backstory of what exactly my experience was selling Merch by Amazon and why exactly I don't sell it on it anymore. So I was one of the first kind of wave to get into actually selling on Merch by Amazon, and it had really good success. And I'm one of the guys that really likes to like scale their business. So whatever I can do, whatever I can outsource, I'm going to outsource. And so what I was doing is all the different t-shirt designs I was outsourcing. I had 3 full-time designers that were pushing out around 30, 35 high-quality designs a day. And I was just sitting on my computer, just minting designs, just boom, 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 just placing them on there like crazy. And because I was on that first wave, there weren't really many sellers. So my designs obviously were selling pretty well because at the time, there weren't really any limits. I couldn't only do 2 per day, 5 per day. They had like an unlimited amount. You just had different tiers. And so I went from the 25 tier to the 100 tier in a month. And then I went from 100 to 500. Then I think I went from 5,000 to 2,000. That was kind of the highest tier I'd got to. And at that time, at my max capacity, I think I had around 786 designs coming into Q4. And then everything, it just hit the fan. So coming into December, I was doing around $5,000 a week in profit just off the royalties for my t-shirts. So it was absolutely insane. I mean, I was at school for 8 hours a day. And I was just minting money. I was like, this is insane. Like, I think I can scale my business at this rate. It's like $1 million business. And then on December 13th, my account was actually suspended.
Oh, what happened there?
And I was checking my emails, and all of a sudden I couldn't log into my account. And then I received an email that my account was terminated. And Amazon, they didn't tell me why it was. I sent messages after messages and messages like, why was my account terminated? What was I doing wrong? And they never answered back. So, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of push away. And at the time of me building up that business, I'd got my sister a profile, my brother a profile as well. So they were doing that. And my sister still has their account. But the platform has changed a lot since then, especially for new sellers. Like when I think it was my like dad got his account, he was only able to list 2 designs per day, all the way up to 25 designs. So it was going to take him like 12, 13 days to max out his tier at 2 designs per day. So they definitely made some changes to the account. I still think you can make really good money, but I don't think it's at that same capacity where I think you can scale it to that $1 million business like I really thought it was.
Tell me a little bit more about the feelings and emotions that were going through your head when you got that account terminated or suspended email.
I mean, it was probably one of my biggest business failures ever. I mean, it was imagine just having that cash flow, and then all of a sudden it's just taken from you and you just have nothing. And it was a really, really big setback for me. And the first couple days after it was terminated, I was just really thinking like, what did I do wrong? And I was like, you know what? There's nothing that I can do to fix the past, and I'm just gonna have to move on. And so at that time, I was thinking of different strategies, like maybe I should just go back to Amazon private label and just go full time into that, or maybe I should pick up some other business. And so it was kind of a big setback for me, but I'm just like, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it now. I just need to move on and move forward and just learn from my mistakes. So even though I don't know what a mistake I'd made because they didn't tell me, just like, you know what, I'm going to move on. So,
I was about to say, do you have any insight or inclination of what the reason was that Merch by Amazon account got suspended?
Still no. And a lot of people at that time have been getting terminated too. And it wasn't because of copycat designs, because I mean, I wasn't just going and copy and pasting someone's design onto my t-shirt and selling it for lower price. I mean, I wasn't doing that. I really do have no idea why. Maybe my titles or description was too much similar to the t-shirt designs I was competing against. I just have no idea.
Tell me a little bit about your goals for 2018. New year ahead.
I definitely want to scale my Amazon private label business as well. And like I mentioned earlier, I want to do at least 2 products per month, and I can obviously do more as well because I definitely have the cash flow to be able to invest in that. And I would definitely like to build it up to around $20,000 a month in profit. That kind of be my goal by the end of 2018. I also have another business idea as well that I'm kind of planning as well to add on to that. And then I'm trying to build my personal brand as well. So you guys, I mentioned earlier, but I do have a YouTube channel. I share my experience with everything in my private label business, and I provide a lot of value on there. And I think, Greg, you said you were going to link my YouTube channel down in the description. So make sure you guys subscribe. I think I'm at about 1,600 subscribers right now. And my goal is to get 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, end of 2017. So make sure you guys subscribe. Those are kind of my big plans for 2018.
Nice. Do you think you'll be able to launch 2 products per month just on your own with all the other commitments like high school and basketball and everything else? Or you're going to get some help? Or tell me a little bit more about that.
I do think it's going to be tough. I've been thinking of different ways where I can possibly outsource, but most of the things I can do by myself. It might be a little bit hard coming into December and coming into January with varsity basketball season and having 2 or 3 games a week where I don't do anything during those days. I just don't really have the time. But I think after basketball season, I'll have a little bit more of a threshold to be able to work on the business and put a little bit more of time into it. And especially in the summer is a straight grind. I mean, I was working like 8-hour days. I'm still being a teenager, still hanging out with my friends, hanging out at the lake, stuff like that. But that's definitely the time where I just buckle down. Like, you know what? These 3 months, I really need to work hard and just provide a lot of value for my business. So when it does come to 2018, it's going to be a big time commitment, I think. But I do think I can do it, and I'm going to make it happen. So,
Carter, this has been a really awesome interview, and I thank you a lot for coming on. Are there any last words or thoughts you want to leave the audience with?
My biggest words of advice, guys, is to take action. You're not going to be able to make any money. You're not going to be successful. Be a successful entrepreneur. Be successful on Amazon, eBay, whatever platform you sell on. If you don't take action, you don't dedicate your time and money into growing your business. So, guys, make sure you take action. It's my one tip.
Awesome. Thanks again, Carter. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you later. See ya.
Thank you, Greg.